Visit DojoOutfitters.com and use code DOJO2 to save 10%. Enjoy the show. Give me a little countdown. Dojo Outfitter family, what's going on? Welcome back to the show. Today we got Keisuke Andrew. Professor, what's up?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm so good, man.
Good.
Hey, thank you so much for coming out. Me and Jamie were both like super excited when you got back to me and said you wanted to be on here. Like I was telling you early, I've been hearing about you since I first started training in 2012. And dude, thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Obviously, the first question I got to start with is how did you start training? Anything? Was BJJ the first thing that you got into?
You know what? Actually, before I started jiu-jitsu, so I wanted to do jiu-jitsu, but I couldn't find a jiu-jitsu school. So I tried to look for judo, and pretty sure Portland judo wasn't around yet. And I was very poor. So all I could find and afford was judo classes through PCC. So I took like a few classes, for like a semester. And yeah, that's how it started.
So when you started judo, were they only showing throws, or were you getting to see the newaza too?
Yeah, they did. They did some newaza. Yeah, I picked up a little bit from that. I think there was one time when they were teaching me how to like open guard and passing, and they told me it's like the ladder system, It's like you go step by step up, and I still use that, when I teach. And I tell my students, that's that system. So,
Dude, how wild. Do you remember who your teacher was back then?
no, I wish
That's
I did.
crazy. I wish we knew too.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've actually known like quite a few people that have like started training at PCC.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, where'd you start? And they were like, PCC. I was like,
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of wild. So when did you transition to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu?
Let's see. So after a little bit of judo, for a while, I was just wrestling with my friends, like we would just watch UFC, like the early ones, on the VHS. And when I first learned about it, my friend was like asking me, who do you think would win? Like karate, wrestling, judo, jujitsu, and back then I was like, karate, right? They break bricks, ice, and like who could compete with that, And I'm Japanese, so I think I had like this bias towards karate. And as soon as it started, they were just getting strangled, Yeah. And yeah, we would watch like Hoist Gracie, Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn just out grappling everybody, right? And as soon as we were done watching, we would just clear out the living room and just start wrestling. So yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. We would, everybody would wrestle and I would get my butt kicked by everybody, and I started renting those VHS tapes, right, from like Hollywood, Blockbuster, and I would watch Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock, those two guys, and like I would watch like a Hoist Gracie armbar like over and over and over. And then I would try it on my friends, and eventually I went from getting my butt kicked by everybody to where I could tap out all of my friends, Yeah, so somewhere between judo, I probably did that first and then got into judo for a little bit. And the whole time I was still, wrestling my friends. And then when I found Straight Blast Gym Beaverton, now it's Impact Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started there.
So that was a question I was gonna ask too. Is how did you find what is now Impact Jiu Jitsu?
Oh man, I can't remember. It's like 2001. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
That's so wild that
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because back then there wasn't as many gyms to go to, but to have two legendary coaches who gave you your black belt, they're pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Really cool. Tell me about the early days of jiu-jitsu. What was it kind of like way back then?
Oh, training
Yeah.
back then. Um, Back then, I feel like everybody that was training did gi, no gi, and MMA. I feel like everybody was doing all three, and I think at some point, people started to, only train in gi, only no gi, only in MMA, or, maybe like two of those things,
Hmm.
right? So, yeah, I feel like back then everybody really cross-trained all three. Yeah.
Oh, so is that kind of how you got into MMA then? Did you just decide you were like, oh, well, I mean, might as well get in some fights too?
No, so the reason why I wanted to fight, when I was probably in like sixth grade, I got into this fight. I saw this kid, like a younger kid, getting picked on. And I went over there. I couldn't fight at all, right? I have no fighting skills. But I saw this kid getting picked on, and I went over there trying to help, right? And instead of being able to help, I just got my butt kicked, And this kid, he had boxing experience and taekwondo. So I'm just a heavy bag for him,
Yep.
basically, right? I'm not even heavy, and he's just beating me up. And I remember getting knocked down, getting up, not being able to do anything, right? And that experience just stuck with me, And in seventh grade, me and that bully kid, we actually became friends. But something happened and we got into that fight again, So he beats me up again, right? And I would think about this from time to time. And even as an adult, like a young adult, it really stuck with me. So when I started doing jujitsu, um, I wanted to fight to see if I can overcome that fear, I guess, right? That frozen in fear feeling, So yeah, it's probably like the scariest thing that I've ever done. But yeah, that was the reason why I wanted to do it, just overcome.
Yeah, I mean, you ended up doing pretty good. You retired in 2006 with an undefeated record. You were the FCFF champion two times, I believe.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, you only went to a decision one time.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, pretty good finishing rate as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I got pretty lucky.
Any of those fights stand out?
I mean, definitely the very first one.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being, right? I've never done it before, and I think when I had that fight 2005, so like mid 20s, right? Even then, getting beat up as a child, it lingered, you know? And I remember waiting for my turn to fight, being in the waiting room downstairs, the Roland Theater. And that building doesn't shake, like when the crowd goes crazy, right? But waiting for a fight, downstairs in the waiting room, every time somebody would get knocked out, or something happens, the crowd goes crazy, I literally felt like the building was shaking. And I felt like I was like freezing. And downstairs in the waiting room, waiting for my first fight, it literally felt like I was going back to being in sixth grade, right? Like being frozen in fear. And, I remember thinking, like, I can't move. Like, how am I going to fight when I go upstairs? you know? And by the time I got upstairs, I saw the lights, I saw everybody screaming and yelling, and like this show off part of me, I think felt good or something. And yeah, I was able to perform, but yeah.
How did the first fight end?
So, the first fight, I took the guy down. The guy came at me really aggressively, big swinging punches. So I took him down, and I think I mounted him maybe once or twice, and he was just hanging on, So when I broke free, he got his guard back, and then standing ground and pound, I threw a big punch, and knocked him out. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild for your first fight to knock someone out.
Yeah, because I've never knocked anybody out before that,
Yeah.
right? So
The
yeah.
emotions were probably crazy,
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
right?
Yeah.
I want to know about your first title fight.
Oh, okay.
What was it like? I mean, I guess you kind of built your way up, but did you anticipate it more, or was it kind of just another day at the job?
So, I watched professional wrestling a lot when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't want to go
So, like,
too
this
far
belt,
into
right, is-
hey,
yeah,
I don't
awesome.
want to go too far into professional
Yeah.
wrestling, but holy.
Yeah.
I'm a big wrestling fan.
Okay, so when I was a kid, like watching like Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
with their belts,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't care what belt it was, right? Boxing, wrestling, I just wanted some kind of a championship belt, So the opportunity to get it, was huge for me, So yeah, and it was kind of scary because I knew Mel was, I think, like a judo brown belt at the time. He's already owned his own school for a while, and I think he was like a purple belt at the time. So, I just had this idea that he is a more experienced, martial artist.
Huh.
So,
Dude, every person that I go against in my head has been
Yeah,
training
yeah.
for like 20 years.
right,
Two-time ADCC gold medalist. I'm like, well, I guess I'll try my best.
right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like every fight that I've had, I would really go aggressively, but I think it was more because I didn't want to get my ass kicked, So it's like I had to go try to finish it, So this guy can't like kick my ass, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dude, that's pretty cool. So you're actually like one of the original heel hook guys. You were making it cool before the Danahers were making it cool.
Yeah, I think I used to get in trouble because I was doing heel hooks as a white belt. Yeah.
So how'd you get into the leg lock game?
So when I would wrestle my friends, right, I would, before I started jujitsu, I would try the leg locks that I would see Ken Shamrock doing, And I think it was against Patrick Smith in one of the early UFCs, right?
Yeah, mhm.
He drops back for a heel hook. And I'm like, wow, how did he do that, So I would just watch that video over and over and over, And yeah, in hindsight, I shouldn't have been doing it, because me and my friends, when we would wrestle, like we would really hurt each other, like we didn't really have a concept of tapping early. So I wrestled this one friend. I heel hooked both of his legs, and later on, he picked me up, threw me down on the ground, and I ripped a shoulder muscle in the shoulder, and like my shoulder dropped like 2 inches. So I had to go to the ER, and he told me that next morning he couldn't get out of bed because he couldn't walk after the 2 heel hooks, so he had to have his mom take him to the hospital. We were idiots. Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, young kids being morons, watching the UFC.
I want to know the story about you getting your black belt. Do you remember?
I do, yeah.
Tell me how it happened.
Oh, let's see. So during the MMA, when I was fighting, I wasn't doing gi at all, So I actually kind of fell behind, When I knew I wasn't gonna fight anymore, I put the gi back on, and I just became a student of the game. Like I wanted to catch up to everybody. So yeah, I worked at it. I think about a year after I put the gi back on, I got my brown belt, and then about a year after that, I got my black belt. Yeah, it's interesting. Like looking back, I remember leading up to the black belt. I kept thinking like, I think, I'm almost there. And then as soon as I got it, I was like, oh crap! Like I need to really fine tune my skills. As soon as I had it, I was like, I wasn't sure if I deserved it. But yeah, it was a great moment though. Getting my black belt. With my training partners. I think it was Armand, Cameron, and Eric Jaton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Truly a special moment for you.
Yeah, because I think we were the first students at SBG Impact, to get a black belt, aside from our coaches.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that when we were talking about this, I was like, man, you have to be like one of the kind of first, I guess, people to get their black belts of people who aren't already black belts. Crazy that, I mean, you've been a black belt for 11 years now.
Yeah, 2009. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you're three stripe now, working almost towards your halfway towards your fourth.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it's 5 years,
Uh-huh.
right after the third. So yeah.
How old are you?
42.
You got a chance.
Hopefully I'll make it.
You got a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about the first gym that you owned.
Oh, okay. So I opened Fulcrum Jiu Jitsu with Jonathan Lee, and boy, it was a major failure, but really good learning experience. But man, I think we had an idea of what we wanted, and the reality was much harder, I think it lasted for about 8 months, before we closed shop, and then I opened Enso Jiu Jitsu. But that 8 month, I worked harder than I ever have. I feel like every waking moment, like I put into making that place work, and yeah, like bad location, um, yeah, didn't meet our expectation, when it ended, um, we went our separate ways, me and Jonathan, and I started up Enso Jiu Jitsu, and thankfully it ended up working out. But boy, what a humbling learning experience.
So how long have you been open at Enzo's?
And so let's see, we opened in 2012, May 2012, so 8.5 years, I think. Yeah,
Okay. Wow, congratulations.
thank you.
That's a
Yeah,
very good run.
yeah,
Um, One of the other good questions that I had was um, kind of asking about kids, coaching kids. You
sure.
have two, a 13 and an 8-year-old, two
Hmm.
kids, and I see them training with you.
Yeah.
Boxing, rolling. How'd you get your kids into it?
Well, so the way I did it with my kids is up until age 6 or 7, it was pretty much all just like play fighting. I wanted them to have like the basic understanding of what we're doing, but I realized really early on with my first one that the amount of time that you put in, right? What you get out of it before they are a certain age and maturity level is not good. So at an earlier age, I would try to teach my kid too much, and I would see that the amount of time that we would spend on the technique, it's not being absorbed, right, in a certain amount of time, and there's something that's extremely difficult about teaching your own kids. When it's like other people's kids, it's much easier, but when it's your own, I think making sure that you don't lose your cool, that you are being fair to your child, um, all that's very important. So I realized, that I need to kind of bring it back down a little bit. And then when my son was mature enough, like about age 6 or 7, I realized about that age, I can teach them almost like I would an adult. They would be able to retain it. Um, yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of how
I
it went.
think I'm that man. You have such a
Yeah.
cool. That's really a cool philosophy. Because that's kind of like how I've been with my son.
Yeah.
I know he's only 20 months old, but I'm trying to like tickle fight him,
Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
make it fun.
Right.
Make it so fun. I just want him to. I've gotten so many things out of grappling. I just everyone I meet, I try and encourage them
Yeah.
to. I'm
Especially
like,
when it's your son, right?
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I want him to love it.
Yeah. And the thing is this, right? Like you hear a lot of people say that they don't want to force their kids to do something, right? And I do get that. I think, if a child has a passion, right? Like say my older son wants to do soccer, right? And the jujitsu time was getting in the way of it, I would cut down jujitsu for him. but if they don't have anything, if they just want to play video games or be on their tablet, I'll make them do jujitsu. And the thing is, I feel like as a parent, right? We have certain things that we can teach your kids, And me being a jujitsu instructor, like one of the biggest things that I can give my son, both my kids, is the ability to be able to protect themselves. One day if they have a family, right, then they can protect their family. Um, and everybody needs to work out, right? And I think it's really important that kids learn how to work out, and doing martial arts, right? It's fun, and when you do it as a family, like we have something that we can do together, right? So I guess I don't, when my kids are older, like 18, and they don't have to be at home anymore, I want to have something uh, like a hobby that we can do together. Something that we can geek out on. So like my kids, they love to read like comic books that I used to read when I was a kid. So it's like having those commonalities, in the hobbies. I think it's gonna pay off later.
So tell me how you. I found out that you have a book on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
A beginner's jujitsu guide.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you? First of all, the first question I want to know is how did you come up with the philosophy? Tell me about what went on to be like, hey, I can put out a really good beginner's guide.
Okay. Yeah. So when you are in a coaching role, right? When you're teaching, you're gonna encounter the same questions over and over and over. You know what I mean? Like,
Coach, how do I get out of side control?
sure, yeah. Or like, I mean, when you think about a brand new student that comes in, right? The coach has the exact same questions, right? It's like, how do you put on a gi? How do you put on a belt? Like, what is the etiquette when you walk in, right? Like, how do you approach your training partners? It's like, like, when you roll, like, what is rolling? Like, should I be on top? Should I be on bottom? And it's, and I really don't mind answering it because, I love to teach, right? But, I was thinking that what if people just had a book that they can pick up and go, oh, this is how you do it, Like, I just read this book and now I know all the basic questions, So,
what are some tips? And I'm just going to pick your brain really quick here.
Yeah.
What are some tips that you would give someone who was thinking about starting jiu-jitsu? And I know that
just a general advice.
General advice, I'd say.
So I think the number one thing is consistency, right? So, I think anything that you want to pick up, you don't just do it when it's fun, right? So if you want to be good at jujitsu, right, or music or anything, right, you don't just practice when you feel like it. You make a schedule for yourself, hold yourself accountable. So if you tell yourself, like, realistically, I can train 3 times a week, right? Don't do it like once or twice just because you don't feel like doing it 3 times a week, right? If you can do it, you should do it. I do think training should be fun, but it should also be accepted that it's not always going to be fun. And the difficulty of it is what's going to make it worth the gains that you have in the end, right? So, so I guess, like consistency, realistic expectations, and also, realizing that what you put into it, right, is going to determine what you get out of it, So yeah, those few basic things I would say.
I'm curious on the Portland Judo connection.
Okay.
Because you're actually there's a so the way Portland Judo does it is if you get a blue belt, brown belt, or black belt, there's plaques in the dojo. And so you're actually in Portland Judo on the board,
Right.
How did you get hooked up with these guys?
So
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I
go
said
ahead.
these guys, and if Sensei Andy or Sensei Roy is watching, I completely apologize right there. Not guys, senseis.
Senseis,
We continue.
Yeah. So I was training over at my coach's place at Five Rings Jiu Jitsu with Tom Overhue, and that's where I met Andy Sensei and Louis Sensei. And they're so good at Jiu Jitsu, right? And I remember at one point I had Louis Sensei in X guard, right? I stretch him out, I stand up, and he's just bouncing on one leg like it's nothing. Like I'm like, wow, like the balance that he showed, the composure. And I don't know, I just had so much respect for them right away because I think to be so good at one art and to go, okay, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to learn something else, right? Is really cool. So, and, I also think that if you do jujitsu and if you have the opportunity to practice judo, you should, I mean, it's pretty much like the same art, right? With just different rules. So, when I decided that I wanted to try judo, I think I sent Andy Sensei a message and just went from there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Any plans to try and get your black belt?
Oh man, I won't. Yeah, I really want to. I want to put the time in before COVID started. I started back up, and just that has derailed it. But yeah, as soon as things are back to normal, I'm gonna get back to it for sure.
Hey, that's what I say too. If any of the senseis are watching and wondering where old Chicken Bone has been for judo,
you'll be there as soon as COVID's done.
Just kidding. What about future plans? What?
Future
plans. Anything big? Actually, I got one for you.
Sure.
I got one for you.
Okay.
What if old Uncle Chael gave you a call and said, "What are the chances we can get you on Submission Underground?" Would you have any interest in any kind of super fight or anything like that? Or is it retirement?
So what I was really glad was done after I was done fighting is setting up a match, because you have to be there, right? You have an opponent. You don't want to disappoint your opponent. Anybody else that cares. So I like the jiu-jitsu tournament format where you just go sign up. And if something happens, you can just back out of it. Nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Like if it's a super fight, like I really have to be there.
You have to.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think I'm completely opposed to it, but I guess I'd have to really train. And I don't know, maybe.
I don't think I would. I wouldn't take one.
Yeah.
And
you wouldn't do it?
No, they'd be like, sorry, blue belt. We're not interested.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 42. I'm sure they have younger, grapplers that they would rather have on there. But
potentially.
Yeah.
You never know though, right?
Yeah.
What about outside the gym? What are some of the stuff you like to do not related to training?
So I like to draw. I try to practice ukulele every day and the racing simulator. Oh, and longboard.
Oh yeah, dude. I've seen you on the longboard. You're kind of amazing. Like that's like your fighting style is your longboard style.
Oh man, I'm not very good.
No, you look. I don't know anything about it. You look like you're doing a good job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
What got you into that?
My friend, one of my jiu-jitsu training buddies, a long time ago, he took me up to this parking garage, and we just went down this parking garage and it was so much fun. And I totally forgot about it. And probably like 5 years ago, it just hit me like, oh, I should try it again, So I just bought a longboard and but like every summer, I just spend a lot of time.
Do your kids like to do that too? Are they learning it good as well?
Yeah. Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
I just bought him sliding gloves. Actually, Jose gave my older son his old sliding gloves, and I just bought my 8-year-old like extra small sliding gloves. So they just want to go to the park, put their hands down, when they're sliding. So Yeah.
What got you into the racing simulator?
What got me into it? Okay, so I think I would watch a lot of car videos, right? And like drifting videos and all that kind of stuff. And I would love to do it, but I don't want to wreck my car, or like break my car, right? Trying. And yeah, I was thinking about how I can do it, and I read up on it, and I read that professional car drivers practice on racing simulators. And I heard about people learning or practicing drifting on racing simulators, So yeah, I figured why not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any shout outs before we get you out of here? You want to say what's up to anybody?
Oh man. Yeah, so thank you to everybody at Enso Jiu Jitsu for keeping us going strong. Right now, my God, it's such a tough time for, all the martial arts schools. And it's really amazing to see how the students, of these schools are standing by their academies, keeping us going. Yeah, and thank you to all my coaches. You know, the fact that I get to be here, talking to you, right? All my training partners, all my coaches, from Impact Jiu Jitsu to Portland Judo, I owe it to all my training partners and coaches. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Dojo Outfitter family, follow us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, follow us on Instagram at ChickenBoneBJJ, at Dojo Outfitters, and if you want to follow our friend here, at Keisuke.Andrew, I believe.
On Instagram?
Instagram.
Oh, just Keisuke Andrew.
Just
yeah.
Keisuke Andrew, guys.
Yeah.
Peace!